Hey now, it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm here with who's this? Is this JD Punk? JD Punk, how are you, JD Punk?
Man, let me tell you something. I'm at my stupid job today, and because I took somebody else's position. I got to do the things that I don't really want to do at the moment. One of those things is running the stupid printer. So today, like when I say a printer, it's $140,000 printer, right? It's supposed to do printing for the whole building, but it's 10 years old. It's on end of life cycle. And you can't update the computer. So you can't update any of the software because it's too old. So then we have 12 paper jams in one class. 12 paper jams. So I'm spending 3 hours of my time pulling paper out of a fucking printer. And then I come home to watch his Impact show. And what do we have? Eddie freaking Edwards and PCO in the goddamn desert pretending to fight and having a stupid cinematic match. I thought those things were behind with COVID. I'm exhausted. I'm tired, and I went trick-or-treating with children this weekend. And I'm gonna choke on Reese's peanut butter cups doing this bit.
JD, this is Nick Houseman from Wrestling Inc. How are you?
What do you know about Scott Colton?
Well, what I know about Scott Colton is he was a shitty comedian just like I am, but he might be a better comedian than I am a reporter.
I got a funny story for you. Scott Colton and I used to talk shit to each other on AOL Instant Messenger back in the day when our two high school football teams played each other. That is a true story, my friend.
Nice. Well, let me get back to Nick Houseman Gilbert here.
We won, by the way. Continue.
Oh, nice. Let me get back to Nick Houseman Gilbert. So CM Punk, I just wanted to thank you for always being nice to me, being a professional to me, being a legend, being my hero, and for having a very big penis. Thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate the penis part. And now my damn light just died. This bit is real. By the way, everything I said today actually did happen. I really did have to do that. I really did have to fish out. When I talk about paper jams, I'm talking about 12 pages at one time getting stuck inside this monolithic damn printer that I want nothing to do with, but I'm stuck with for the rest of the semester. Fuck!
Well, did that wake you up a little bit? Because when you first got onto this call, man, you were dead ass tired.
Well, I got a little sugar rush from stuffing my face with Reese's peanut butter cups, and I just had to tap into what I was doing. But continue the show while I fix my light. So give me a second.
Okay. Well, JD has to fix his light. So I also I've been having a lighting issue lately because it's been getting darker earlier, and in my little office / guest bedroom that we have in my house, I put the computer right up against the window, so I get that natural light coming in from the window. But now that as it's getting darker, like you could see, JD has very nice lighting typically, and my lighting, it starts out nice, but as the show progresses, it starts to get darker and darker and darker. So I purchased a new lighting mechanism for the podcast. I should be getting it hopefully by next week. So
now that I've committed to the bit, I want to keep eating the rest of the candy.
Please don't, because I can hear every crinkle of the paper in my ear. I know, but then Garrett's gonna text us and he's gonna be like, "God damn it, JD, what are you doing?"
All right, I'll stop it. Let's stop it. No more bit. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. So I wanted to. We haven't actually talked about this yet, and I don't even know that you're aware of it.
No, what are we doing?
So there's lots of stuff going on. You know, Impact has a few news bits. AEW had tons of stuff happen on their show last night. So if you're tuning in here, you know full well JD and I are going to talk about Jeff Jarrett, but we're going to save that for the Patreon. Okay. So Patreon folks, stick around after the show. The top story that we're going to get into on the Patreon is going to be Jeff Jarrett signing with AEW.
Controversial takes. We're going to give you a different take. At least I am, than everybody else. So I'm very excited.
Yes. So we and I'm pretty sure JD and I are in agreement here about Jeff, and we were excited, hoping that he would come to Impact, but that it didn't work out. He's in AEW, so we're gonna get into that. But I want to start the show off, and we've been, I would say, the last few months always starting off the show with a news item, and this one was very interesting. that happened, I think, on Tuesday. Gerard of bodyslam.net, our good buddy Bear Down himself, a big new distribution deal, Gerard. This
Friend of
one's
the
right
show.
up his alley. Friend of the show, yes. He's been on the show a couple of times. He sent us this. I think he got it off of PW Insider, but basically, Brad Schwartz, the former president of Pop TV from whenever Impact Wrestling was on Pop TV. He was a big supporter of TNA on Pop TV.
2016?
2016 time.
2016, yeah.
They were from 2016 to 2018. So like,
was it
like a 2 or 3 year run.
Okay.
Yeah. They had a few year run before they left Pop TV, and then they went over to the Hunting Channel while they were still finishing the purchase of Access TV, because that was the whole goal. They didn't renew their contract with Pop TV because they were buying Access, right? So
does it still exist? Is Pop TV still a thing?
I think that it is, but nobody, like, TNA/Impact was the biggest thing on that channel, because all they really ran, other than I think Schitt's Creek, was like reruns of the Gilmore Girls and like Days of Our Lives and stuff like that. So that's, and Impact didn't really fit on that channel. But okay, so the story that I'm trying to get to is that guy, Brad Schwartz, because Pop TV is a CBS Viacom property. Though CBS and Viacom merged over, right? And so what they did is they started to offload a lot of the CEOs, and as they moved into the super company, he was gone. Well, he has taken over as president of the CW network, which was just recently purchased by Nexar, which is a huge media conglomerate. You and I had brought up the CW was for sale a while back, because we were like, man, Anthem should probably look into this one, because this is kind of right up their alley. It's and it wouldn't have cost them that much money. I think Nexar ended up buying CW Network for like $120 million, and they just consumed that amount of debt and became the majority shareholders. And so we were thinking that Anthem should make that purchase. Well, Nexar did. They put Brad Schwartz as the president of CW Network. And obviously, people are starting to talk. It was actually brought up on PW Insider that Impact was a big time, that he was a big supporter of Impact. You know, I'm. Is it possible that Impact could head over to CW? They need the programming.
They do need the programming. My question is, does Access let them, or does, I should say, Anthem let them go? Because look, okay, first of all, you've seen the numbers for the WoW show, right?
Very good. Insane.
No, they're actually considered really bad, is what I was reading. Right. It's like, oh, these are terrible numbers, but they're triple what Impact's doing. So just by having that presence on network television, you're potentially, at worst case scenario, tripling your audience.
Yeah.
So in that case, and Impact's a much better show than WoW, whatever that thing is called.
I assume that it is. I have not watched a single episode, but I'm gonna take your word for that one.
I checked it out a little bit, just out of morbid curiosity's sake, so I can make that statement. It's a bad show. David McClain never had a good wrestling show. Anyway, I think it would be an interesting idea. That said, okay, let's look at it from the Nexar point of view. They need content, because CW has divorced themselves from Warner Discovery. They've canceled or expired, or in the process of, all of the CW like superhero shows and Riverdale and kind of everything that's made up that network's identity for the past decade. All of your genre mixed with, the teen angstiness that's kind of become like their hallmark. I love comics, and I hate all those shows, so it's not quite for me. But you got to put something on there. So the assumption was going to be reality TV, because it's fast and cheap. Hello, Astro. So they need something, and Impact sounds like it could be an interesting fit there. But here's my question: does Access/Anthem let it go there? And I don't have an answer to that. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think they would if the price was right. The problem with CW is they're in cut mode, and they're not going to want to spend a ton of money on programming. But as you were saying, it's a lot cheaper to produce Impact than it is, say, for The Flash or I know they had the Green Arrow right on that show, and then they have
Yeah,
like
all the time.
Supergirl and all that shit. So
Supergirl, Legends of
yeah,
Tomorrow, Batgirl, like that, tons of
right.
superhero
So
shows.
you're going to get 104 hours of original programming at a fraction of the cost
Mhm.
after cutting all those shows, and Impact is likely to do just as good or even better ratings than a lot of those shows are for your network.
Yeah.
And the demo is probably going to get a bit older with Impact because
Mhm.
those shows were geared more towards teens. But I think that you could get that. So would CW be willing to pay for Impact? I don't think CW would be willing to pay the price that it would take for them to get like a Ring of Honor from Tony Khan. I think Khan is probably going to want a really good deal for that, right? He's going to want a good rights deal because it's going to be a top of the line production for him. Now, Impact is, they have proven that they can put on decent programming for really cheap. And could they work out a deal where, hey, look, CW is of the cable networks, it's like, well, you got, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox. CW would be like that fifth one right there. And I know you have My Network TV and you have all these other local ones, but
It's
it's
a
like,
step above My Network, yeah.
yeah, it's a step above My Network. So, but it's not in every market, right? So CW is in a lot more households than Access TV is, but it's still not in every household like the other stations would be. So you're not getting the same clearance as Fox. So maybe they work out a deal where it's like, why not be on both networks? I don't know, and split the costs or whatever.
Well, it's gonna depend too, because just because you're an affiliate doesn't, like, we talk about Fox. A lot of Fox stations are owned by Sinclair, right? And a lot of CBS stations are owned by Sinclair, stuff like that. So just
Yeah.
Nexstar owns this, but that doesn't. I mean, network TV is not as
Yeah.
cut and dry as people think it is. It's a
So
little bit more complicated than even cable is in these
yeah,
cases. So
I'll explain it in like to Mike Gilbert
please
White Trash
go,
101, right? So
please dumb it
so
down.
you have the Fox station, right? So you have the Fox network, and they license their products to all these smaller these local network
Affiliates.
affiliates, right? So they license their logos, all their programming. These local affiliates get to run that programming. And then when they're not running that programming, they can put whatever they want on. They can do syndicated, they can do Steve Harvey show all day that they want, or they can, you got Big Bang Theory at 5, you got Steve Harvey at 6, you got, reruns of Family Feud at 7, all the way up until prime time. And when it comes prime time, then you have to show the Fox stuff, right? And it's the same for every network. So Nexstar owns the CW, which has all these affiliates all over the country that are mandated to air their programming, right? So, which is why there would be some networks, like, because Sinclair owns all these Fox stations, there's going to be some networks that's going to have SmackDown on. And back in the day, like, the next night would have Ring of Honor at like midnight on that same station, right? And and conceivably, I'm pretty sure there's probably a station or two out there that might even have WoW, because WoW has a deal with CBS, Viacom, and Sinclair. So none of that stuff would even matter. So it's the same thing with CW. So CW has all these affiliates, so they'd be mandated to air the Impact show on the agreed upon night and time.
You know what's interesting? Here in Chicago, you know what our CW affiliate is? It's
What's that?
WGN.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
What it
Yeah.
is, but it's like interesting because like WGN America is not the WGN that we get here in Chicago. So
Really?
we would get the CW stuff, whereas like WGN America
Huh.
was running completely different programming. I always thought that was interesting, and didn't even
Yeah.
realize that until I was on vacation and was watching TV in the motel. I'm like, oh, what do you know? Anyways, I this could work if Impact's willing to play some ball. You know, would it help your customer base? Is it better to take a smaller deal to widen a potential customer base?
So you would prefer cash in hand, right?
You would prefer cash in. That's why
You would prefer cash in hand, but if this opens up more opportunities for, say, and now you're opened up in all these newer markets, right? That's going to give you live event opportunities. The problem is Impact doesn't run that many live events.
they don't.
So that becomes an issue, but you're increasing the amount of eyeballs that could pay for your app. And that's the business they're in. The app subscriptions, the YouTube subscriptions, and pay-per-views and merchandise. And then of course, then on those shows, then you get to push all your Gravitas Venture stuff, your Invicta stuff. You get to push all those other things. I've even seen on Impact they're starting to push HDNet movies, which I've never seen them do before. But recently they started promoting HDNet movies on Impact. So Tom Phillips or Tom Hannafin, sorry, has been doing that. So
you're right.
That opens up those types of marketing and advertising opportunities. So if you do get some cash in hand, you get the master tape to be able to air on your own stations, Access and Fight Network and all that stuff. You do kind of a barter deal or whatever. Or if CW just comes with the money and says, hey, we'll give you $10 million or whatever it is to air your show every week, and then you can do whatever you want with it after that, as long as we get first rights, so be it.
What happens to What happens to Impact on Access? If theoretically, let's just play ball.
Theoretically. So the way I could see it play out is what I've seen with other shows. So like when SmackDown is done airing on Fox, right? The next night it also airs on FS1, and then it gets replayed on all the other stations. That's how I would see this thing playing out. Like it airs on CW, they get the first rights, and then either later that night or the next night or whatever, or over the weekend, it gets pushed. It gets Access gets a hold of it, and then of course it goes to the app, it goes to the YouTube, it goes everywhere. They would get the replay rights to it, and they would get it immediately replay.
What's intriguing to me is what does this? I guess I don't know. Impact is the top rated show on Access. Does losing the first rights to Impact, would that hurt Access's ad revenue?
I don't think Impact. I don't think wrestling typically gets ad revenue that's like, even though they're higher rated, higher rated than the alternative programming to them. They're higher rated than those. They get like half the ad rates. So,
but we're talking about Access. We're talking about Access. Like what kind of ad rates is Access? I mean, like, we don't really talk about the lower rung. This is what Access. Access is a lower rung cable station. I don't know what kind of ad rates those kind of stations bring in to begin with.
How much do you think it would cost for us to get a Brace for Impact commercial on there?
More than we could
produced by JD and JD students.
Yes, we could absolutely do that. And it would look just as good as anything on television. Let me tell you. More than we can afford, I would assume. No. I mean, again, the reason Impact's able to do this advertising on Raw and Dynamite they're doing is because they're buying the local time. We talked about that last week. Local time a lot cheaper. We can't do that. If we were busted open, maybe we could do that. I don't know, man. I don't know the dollars and cents enough. I mean, like, on the surface, it seems like a no-brainer. You'd rather have a network show than a cable show. But when it comes to the actual, like, counting, I don't know. Nextstar's got to put something on CW. They have to run something. They have to run something that people will want to watch, because they didn't just buy a network just to continue losing money, and they're losing money right now.
Yeah.
So they got to put something on.
They didn't. So we say buy the network. They essentially consumed their debt.
That's all they did.
They took over their debt and then became the majority owners. So
they didn't spend any money.
No. Yeah. So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. It's something that we're going to be keeping our eye on here. I'm not saying that they're going there. I'm just saying it's something to look out for.
Give me odds. What do you think? You're a gambling man.
Yeah. So I would say a 70% no.
I would lean probably 75, 80% no.
Yeah. So we basically agree. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, man. Well, hey, let's go ahead and get into tonight's show. We had a lot going on in the show, lots of fun stuff, lots of stuff that was probably hard to watch. Hey, we have an intruder.
Hey,
what's up?
This is part of the fun about being a parent when you're doing podcasts. Your kids visit.
So I forgot to put my shoes away. Where did I leave them?
If you make a mistake,
I gotta go shut the door. Hold on.
You take care of that. I'll just cover for Mike while he's walking away. If you make a mistake, your children are going to be the first people to point it out to you and let you know, hey, Dad, you just made this giant mistake.
Yeah. So the reason why she's coming in to tell Izzy, Daddy's talking to his friend, honey. So the reason why she's intruding now is because the other day, so we have like this little cubby in the dining room, and that's where we were supposed to put our shoes.
Oh, we have someone.
Yeah, so I left my shoe. I put my shoes in front of the cubby because I had my work boots inside the cubby, right? And so the cubby was full, so I just put them in front of the cubby. Well, she wasn't paying attention, tripped over the shoes, and landed really hard. And so,
she came here to give you the business.
So that didn't happen just now. That happened before. So she noticed it again. Like, hey, I remember last time he did that. I fell and got a boo-boo. So now I need to go give him the business about possibly putting me in danger. So
she's definitely your daughter. Like,
yeah,
I see the personality traits coming through. I like that. Good, well done parenting, my friend. We also have the cubby, but we keep our cubby in the garage because my friend sleeping next to me right here loves to eat shoes. He's been through 8 pair in the 6 months we've had him. Right, buddy? Yeah, he's sleeping now.
He's a hungry boy.
Oh, he loves chew. He's just a chew meister. He just thinks shoes are fun to chew on. Like, it's weird when you're a dog, you don't know, like, they give you stuff to chew on. It smells the same thing as the stuff you find every other place. What's the difference? So yeah. Shoes,
well, hey,
man.
let's go and get into the show, man. We've talked enough. Let's go ahead and review the show. So on BTI, PJ Black, the former Justin Gabriel of NXT fame and Ring of Honor fame and Lucha Underground fame, made his Impact return, and he defeated Yuya Uemura from I think from New Japan. I don't know. It seems kind of odd. I don't know what's going on with him, but I think there's a good reason why PJ Black got the victory here, because Yuya is probably not coming back. So I ain't too salty about this one.
No, I would say we're supposed to be the guys that get mad when the old irrelevant guys beat the young guys, but at the same time, Yuya's on Twitter saying, "I'm leaving New Japan." Yeah. And honest to God, he's probably WWE bound because he is exactly what they want. He is a big, jacked up athlete, good looking Japanese guy.
Oh yeah.
That is, that's money for them.
And I think I think he's going to be a star.
Me too.
I really do. Yeah, I honestly thought that he would be like in a couple of years for New Japan, like he was going to be up there challenging Okada and Naito and those guys, having big matches with those guys. You know what I mean?
I said the same thing about Carl Fredericks, and here we are with him too. New Japan has to reevaluate. We were talking with Justin about this, our buddy Justin Nipper. New Japan has to kind of reevaluate their young lion system because it takes far too long for guys to get dojo trained into like a good position in the company. It took like 6-7 years in some cases. Like, it's a long time. You got to be super patient. And when you've got these other companies that are willing to throw out money, why?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to see him on NXT with some dumb name, doing matches with like stacks and whatnot, but this was probably gonna happen.
I don't have it in my notes, but remind me during Patreon. We got to talk about that one kid that got released from NXT.
2 dimes. My gag.
Not 2 dimes. The kid that just got released, Bodie
Hayward. Yes,
that guy. Yeah. Let's talk about him on the Patreon because I've been hearing some stuff about this kid, so I want to talk about it.
I do too. Yes, let's do that. We'll revisit that.
Impact main card. So JD, I'm going to challenge you right now to hold in your anger on the PCO Eddie Edwards stuff until we
I'm not angry.
Finish.
I'm defeated
because it's sprinkled throughout the show. So I don't want to get an epic JD rant after each time.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen tonight.
Let's wait till PCO gets buried in the desert, and then
buried in the desert.
Yeah. I'm going to correlate it to one of the worst episodes of Monday Nitro.
Oh, I know what you're. I'm looking forward to this.
That's why we have a podcast, folks. But, the show opened up with Eddie Edwards in the wilderness cutting a promo on PCO saying that Honor No More doesn't exist anymore because of him. And he then challenged PCO to a fight in the desert, and they're foreshadowing a cinematic match. So we'll be looking forward to speaking about that soon. But the first match was Speedball Mike Bailey defeating Kenny King to advance in the X Division title tournament. He advanced, as well as PJ Black earlier in the show advanced. So I gotta say, I Kenny King looked a lot better here than he normally does, and I thought this was a pretty good match. I actually really enjoyed the match. There were times where King seemed like he was in slow motion, but then I think Speedball really went above and beyond and got a really good match out of King, who then I think met the effort there eventually. But it took a while for him to get going. But by the end of the match, I thought they had the people, and they definitely had me.
I agree. I think this is the best Kenny King match I remember seeing for a long time. Speedball, good worker, right? That's the idea of
Yeah.
being. We throw this term "worker" around and what it means. The idea of real working is to create good matches wherein there might not be one, right? So
Yeah.
I think that Speedball proved his working ability here by elevating Kenny King's performance. And this was good. Honestly, I'm a little lukewarm on Speedball sometimes, but this is a good match, man. I thought these two had
Yeah.
really good chemistry, and I don't know, you can only get so much out of a Kenny King, Impact's
Yeah.
version of Yujiro.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's actually a really good comparison. That's
Thank
pretty
you, I
funny.
appreciate that.
But Kenny King, he's got the new look. He's got his own theme song. He's definitely an Impact guy through and through. He's been off and on with Impact since he was like a teenager. So,
Mhm.
and I don't see AEW or WWE being interested in Kenny King. Maybe 5 or 6 years ago they would have been interested, but I just not right now. I think he's
WWE
here.
WWE hasn't been interested in Kenny King since they cut him from Tough Enough.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
That is true.
Um,
They've literally
yeah,
not been
they
interested
did.
in Kenny King for 20 years.
Yeah. Giselle Shaw was walking around backstage giving photos out. It was a photo of her carrying the title. So I guess last week in the main event, when she got her hands on that title, she it had mind control over her, and she got her picture taken with it. So now she's just giving it out all over the place.
Stupid, illogical, stupid. Continue.
Yeah. So she was running around backstage giving the photos out, and Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green ripped them up because this is stupid. They said
Yes, because Chelsea Green's become the voice of reason in this company.
well, not for long. They said
For
Shaw's
now.
selfishness was why they lost last week, and which is true.
That's
And
exactly
before
right.
they could disassociate with Shaw broke up with them, so they are no longer friends.
They were on a break. I'm breaking
Yeah.
up with you. Insert your TV cliche here. This is
Yeah.
stupid as shit, man. But continue.
So next we go to Savannah Evans defeating Jessica with the Death Dolls, Rosemary and Ty Valkyrie. Evans had Tasha Steelz in the corner. Josiah said this was not a good match. I disagree. I thought this was a decent match. I had no problems with the match. But I like to see the two hosses going at it. There's a lot of gaga on the outside, but
A lot of gaga.
I thought the match was good.
Good is a relative term, man. We see lots of good wrestling on a
Right.
weekly basis. This was fine. It was passable. It was inoffensive. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
It's a match I'm not going to remember I watched probably the second the show is over.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I did think that they had look, Savannah Evans really tried to get Jessica up for one of those German
Oh,
suplexes.
yeah. A little
You know what I
hard.
mean? So I just dug some of the power stuff. The type of wrestling they did is usually saved for like super heavyweights, males. You don't get to see this in the women's division very often. So it's like, see the two hosses go at it. I don't know. I like the hosses, male or female, doesn't matter. So it had me going.
I have become a person that thinks Jessica should just be a personality and maybe not in the ring. And I never thought I'd come around to that point of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel you. I feel you. But yeah, anyway, Evans got the victory. It's leading to a tag team title match at Overdrive because, hey, all you need to do to get a tag team title shot in this promotion, if you're a woman, is to have a tag team partner.
Just
And
got to have a
Tasha
friend.
Steelz, that's it. And they have their friends, and now they get a title shot. So there you go. Well, of course, she beat Jessica.
Did you see the NWA revealed another set of titles? They have the US tag team titles now. Like we left
yeah.
about AEW having like all these title belts, and the NWA has like 9 people on their roster, and everyone's got a belt.
Yeah. I had a long conversation about Billy Corgan today at work.
Why?
We were talking about touring bands, and my friend was like, "Hey, I heard the Smashing Pumpkins were coming to Hawaii," and I was just like, "Really?" I looked at their tour schedule, and I actually tweeted them to come to Hawaii, and the Pumpkins account liked my tweet, but I have not seen any or heard anything about them coming. He goes, I heard it on the radio. And I was like, really? So we have to look that up. And then I was like, I told him, I was like, well, I listened to him on Howard Stern recently, and he said that he sees lizard people. And he's also a wrestling promoter, which means he's a scumbag.
So Billy Corgan is one of the most important voices of 1990s music. Like the Smashing Pumpkins are a phenomenal band. Chicago guy, man. Phenomenal band. Like you couldn't grow up here without liking the Pumpkins in this era. He's a terrible wrestling promoter and maybe a lunatic.
Maybe he sees lizard people.
I cannot. Maybe there are lizard people. By the way, I have a book
know.
about lizard people, the Book of Jericho, which you tried to put on to Gravitas Productions this week, and I appreciate that. That's my lizard people category. They did not tweet. They did not like the tweet. No, but I appreciate the effort.
Yeah, they must be Impact fans. They hate me.
Well, yeah, they would be Impact fans.
A promo then aired of Killer Kelly looking for what she called fresh meat to beat. Thoughts?
Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. I had thoughts. Does Killer Kelly need to wrestle ever?
No, just do these vignettes.
These vignettes are fantastic. I don't know what any of it is about. Was that person a wrestler that she fondled her hair?
A local job girl? Yeah.
Yes. Did she? I'm just gonna leave that alone. I'm just gonna. Yeah. It's good. Yep. Good promo.
Speaking of bad, Eddie Edwards is wandering around the wilderness with spooky music.
The spooky music is. Never, I'll save it.
Save it. Yeah, save it. And then we get to Steve Macklin. I'm going to go not a rant here, but I'm going to correct.
Please.
I'm going to correct young Steve here. But he was talking about how he was tired of other challengers jumping in line for an Impact World Title shot, saying he had beaten all these former world champions. He's like, what do I have to do? You said that Bully Ray wins the Collier Shot Gauntlet. He gets to move in line. Frankie Kazarian cashes in his X Division title. He gets to jump in line. Bobby Fish just asked for a shot, and he gets a title shot. What do I have to do? Steve, did you think for one moment just to ask Josh for a title shot?
No. That's all you need to do.
Bobby did.
That's all you need to do in this company. Hey, Scott.
Just bump into the motherfucker in the hallway or just go to the ring and challenge him. He's going to say yes.
Dude, you find a box of Tim Hortons. He's a Canadian guy. You know those Timbits? You go, hey, Scott, buddy, you know who's not had a title shot in this company? Macklin. And then that's it. Right. That's all you need. He's beating people up. He's going about this like this is a real promotion, not something with like 6 people in it. Like, come on.
Yeah. There's no ranking system.
There's no ranking system here.
You just have to ask, Steve. Come on, dude. What are you doing? Why are you sitting around waiting for an opportunity? Just ask for one.
You're thinking about this like you're in the UFC or something. Like, just go.
Just go to the ring and just find a ref. There's 3 of them in the promotion. One of them's available, I'm sure.
Just say, hey, I want a title match, and say it in front of a camera. Then they can't turn you down. It's not that hard.
Yeah. The major players are backstage. This is great, by the way, saying that Heath and Rhino, saying that Heath won't have to say Rhino's name. And then Joe Hendry stepped out of a freezer singing his theme. And Hendry said that he cared about the Digital Media Championship, spoke to the title as if it were a baby, and said that his daddy was not taking good care of him, but he would take good care of him. And that Myers is not giving him more attention, but he would if the title would just believe. Joe Hendry is a superstar.
I love Joe Hendry. I believe in him.
Needless to say, we are Joe Hendry believers.
He is the man this title needs, not the one it deserves. Is that how that cliche? Is that how that weird Dark Knight cliche? I never quite understood what it means, but something to that effect.
Next, we go to PCO. He's wandering in the wilderness in the Las Vegas desert to confront Eddie Edwards. I guess Eddie had given him some coordinates to find, and I don't know that GPS or that PCO can work a GPS, but he found it. A brawl ensued. There was some dramatic music. So this was now we switched over into the cinematic realm. Gravitas Ventures, they sent out their best camera people and their best music people and put this whole production together. At one point, PCO was slammed on a rock, which is probably rock bottom for this feud. And then Eddie Edwards was then suplexed on a rock, I think. And then he stood up and so Edwards suplexed PCO on a boulder, which looked pretty sick. And then he stood up and chokeslammed Edwards on the boulder. And then Edwards hit him with a shovel. And then the music got to scary and it went to quiet rock music. Edwards then buried PCO under a pile of rocks. JD, what are your thoughts, sir?
You ever watch Ren and Stimpy?
Yeah, well,
Remember
probably not in 30 years, but
yeah. Well, yeah, but you watched it as a kid. Remember the horse?
Yeah.
No, sir, I don't like it. That's pretty much where I'm at. You know what this made me think of? Remember how bad COVID was? Like, I mean, like for the planet, horrible, but for a wrestling fan, really bad. Do you remember when they tried to make cinematic matches like a thing, and there were like think pieces written because we were all bored by people who are like, I think cinematic wrestling is the future of professional wrestling. And for like a year, we spent all this time convincing ourselves that cinematic wrestling was good. And then we got back in front of real fans and went, oh, wait, this is way better. This sucks. Yeah, this reminded me of why cinematic wrestling should be a relic of a bygone era. This is dumb. I mean, like, I'm not going to give an epic rant here because I was just like, this is stupid. Like, I'm not offended by it. I'm just like, I want to say it's a waste of their time and talent, but I don't know. Is it? Like, we're going to get something else. It's not like they really buried PCO. Like, they're going to have a real match at some point. Like, it's stupid. And the problem with cinematic matches is if it was just a skit, it would be over in like 3 minutes and we could move on. But it just goes on. It's like the rake gag from The Simpsons, right? Where Sideshow Bob keeps walking around, but it never gets funny. Like it's just it keeps going. And then I keep doing this with my phone. I keep playing with my phone. I just like, I don't know, man. There's just something like, it's like some reason I don't like supernatural wrestling. It's like if I want to like quench my supernatural thirsts, I'll go watch a horror movie or I'll read some Stephen King. Like, and those do a better job stimulating that experience as opposed to wrestling, where it just comes off schlocky and hokey because it's not what pro wrestling is. A fight scene in a movie is different than a pro wrestling match. Like, the only movie I've ever seen people like suplex each other in a movie and it works is They Live, and it's because Roddy Piper is there. And that, like a cinematic fight scene, goes on way too long, but because it's John Carpenter doing it, it works and it gets funny because you got a guy who knows what he's doing. And again, this was well shot. It was well edited. As a production guy, I went, man, this looks great, but it just feels so hollow, right? Like, that's my big problem with cinematic matches. They just feel phony. Like, when we're talking about pro wrestling here, right? When I'm in a ring, I feel good. When it gets out of the ring, I start going like, okay, you lose me a little bit. But when it's this, it just, and there's no one talking and we have the music, it just, I don't think it works, man. And I wish it would just go away. There's matches I like. Like, I like the Sting one, and, you know, the AJ Undertaker one was dumb, but made me laugh at times.
I really liked. Yeah, I like the Undertaker AJ one. I hated the John Cena Bray Wyatt one.
That was a student film. That was something a kid in college makes his junior year when he figured out how to do video editing and thinks he's being creative. Bray Wyatt is perpetually 21. Like, this was just, you would have felt like, remember when the New Day and the Wyatt family tried to do their own version of the Final Deletion?
Mm-hmm.
And it looked good and it was well produced, but it felt empty and soulless, unlike the Final Deletion, which was fun and worked because it was stupid.
Yeah.
Right? This, it felt like that. It's hollow, right? Cinematic wrestling should be used to make fun of wrestling, right? This didn't do that. I don't know, man. There's better things we can do with our time.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. I didn't mind it. There were some parts that I actually was entertained by. Yeah, there are parts that entertained me. I think what I didn't like about it is that it went too long.
Felt forever.
It was like, it should have been a cinematic backstage brawl scene, like not backstage, but out in the desert. If they wanted to do something, they kind of Impact, because they're so small and they have to do things that are different to get attention and to kind of be their own thing. This is kind of what Impact has been since the Final Deletion days. This is what they've been doing that whole time, even with the Dark Realm. You know, Ali got murdered in the Dark Realm while Kevin Sullivan was watching, right? Like, so this is what they do. So when you come to watch Impact, like, this is part of the Impact experience. So these things are not going away. No. So when they're good, you praise it. When they're bad, you just say it, right? And a lot of the Dark Realm stuff was just bad. But then there's the other stuff like Joe Hendry, right? Which is not like a cinematic match, but his theme music is just playing randomly in the backstage. But Swingers Palace.
But that's funny. That's the funny difference with that. It works when it's funny. It doesn't work when you're playing it straight. Like, what would like, if you're going to have a fight like that, you can't do the music, you can't do the overly cinematic stuff because it takes you out of it, because then it no longer becomes pro wrestling. If your tongue is in cheek, it works because you're having fun. Like, I can't. There's this first multitude with wrestling. Like, when you start adding more cinematic elements to it, it's not wrestling anymore. It's a movie, and then it's not a good movie. Right? Joe Hendry having people just automatically go like that's way different because it's ludicrous, and ludicrous doesn't need to be explained. It's just funny because it is, right?
Well,
and that doesn't work.
Yeah, and that's what they were like. They're trying to be like, hey, we're doing it this way. We're doing the funny stuff. Now we want to get into the serious part, which they tried to do with Moose and EC3 a few years ago.
Yeah,
and they failed. That just failed miserably, the Moose EC3 stuff that they did. And this was an attempt. Part of the reason why I like it is because PCO is just ridiculous and PCO entertains me. And I thought that the PCO Frankenstein stuff was entertaining. But other than that, like, I don't care if I never see anything like this again. I'm like, I'd be happier if I didn't. But but PCO makes me laugh.
Okay, you could, if this had been screened the week earlier, Halloween week, and you played up the Halloween aspects and leaned into the Frankensteininess of PCO and done it like a mock horror movie, like some of those old Frankenstein sets and stuff like that, it could have worked. Because then again, we would have laughed. Because again, the stuff that PCO and D Destro would do on their own is ridiculous, right? Yeah. And it was entertaining. This didn't work. It just, no, it's too serious. And it's funny because I'm always the guy who's like, man, I like wrestling when it's a little more serious. But this kind of stuff doesn't work when it's like, it just doesn't. It's just bad filmmaking.
Speaking of not working, Taylor Wilde was with Mickie James backstage, and they talked about her match next week against Chelsea Green. Wilde was looking forward to James beating Green and offered to be in her corner, and James said that she needed to do it by herself. So there you go. That's
a hell of a segue, my friend.
Yeah.
Kudos.
Yeah. And I'm sure this is going to be a future cinematic match, but Sami Callihan defeated Eric Young by DQ when the Minions stormed the ring, all dressed in yellow and black, and attacked poor Sami Callihan. And then eventually revealing we have two new members of Violent by Design, one being Alan Angels, who looks like he's going to be sticking around, and the other one is he used to be called Connor in the Ascension back in the day, and but he has totally redeemed himself. He has changed his character completely. He is now Khan.
Redeemed? I don't know if redeemed is what he was doing here. Reinvented. This felt like a big con to me. Boy, Alan Angels goes from one silly spooky cult to another, huh?
Yeah. I think this one is going to try to be a bit more serious, but
well, I remember there was a time when the Dark Order tried to be serious. Then we decided that was stupid.
And it was stupid, and then Brody Lee made it funny, and then it started to work, right? So if they venture over to that, which Eric Young can do, I'm interested. But the spooky Eric Young stuff, I'm over it, and I've been over it for a long time. And I didn't have any problem with this. I just Violent by Design, I think is it's outlived its useful life, right? So
agreed.
Big Con coming in as kind of the new heater after Joe Doring left. Look, Big Con isn't the Ascension guy. He never really made it. He was they were the NXT Tag Champions, and then they were a complete joke when they got to the main roster. They were never really all that good. He's a big guy. He looked like he was in pretty good shape, so it's good for him. Maybe he got himself in shape for this role. But look, Big Con is the type of guy that Impact's going to be getting from now on, right? He's WWE doesn't want him, AEW doesn't want him. He's probably not that expensive, and he can lose matches to just about anybody, and he's a big guy. So that's who you're probably going to start seeing more often than not going forward.
Here's my qualm with Big Con is this dude has not been wrestling. He got fired from WWE 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I want to say it was like 2016. 2016, 2017, they got released. And this is not a guy who's been burning it up in GCW or something like that, trying to rebuild or his, it wasn't like these my favorite, these NXT guys are like, you're going to hear me, man. I'm not going away. You're never going to see the last of me. And then you like never see them again. Stay tuned for that later, by the way.
Yeah.
I can't help but feel like there's someone better out there we could have picked up than Big Con. Alan Angels, I'm a fan. I like Alan Angels. I think he will do fine. I don't know if this is the role for him, but you got to take what's given to you. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Big Con.
So I worry about Alan Angels getting typecasted. So I do worry a little bit about that. So he goes from Dark Order to Violent by Design to same for me. I don't know.
I'm with you. I'm with you, man.
Yeah. And he's a young guy, and I think that he has potential. So we'll see what happens with him. But with Big Con, if you were to tell me, who do you think could replace Joe Doring in Violent by Design, I'd have come up with 5 names right off the top of my head before I ever got to Big Con, right? Big Damo, who was in Sanity with Eric Young, I thought would be, and he's a good wrestler.
1,000 times better. Yes.
Yeah. Eric Rowan, Eric Redbeard, who has done some stuff with AEW and has actually looked impressive.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more impressive than he looked in WWE. Like, I can go a little bit. He's a bit more famous, and he was in a hotter act, and doesn't appear that he's going back to WWE. So those are the 2 names off the top of my head that I would be like, hey, right, I would have probably went with those 2 guys. But like I said, Big Con, that's the guy that you can get. He's achievable, right? So you gotta Impact's trying to set those SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, achievable.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with this: the reveal. Like when they pull off their hoods, and it's Alan Angels and Big Con. It's no different than Cole Carter last night. But that was an intentional. that was an intentional swerve. Like that was done to be like, get you. Who's? Oh, that was like sleight of hand stuff. This was.
If they never told me that was Cole Carter, I never would have guessed it.
Me neither. And I watched the show. They said, "Oh, Cole Carter from the factory." Like, "Oh, 2 dimes."
Who? Yeah.
Oh, what the fuck is he here? Yeah. Oh, okay. Then it made sense. And then the joke, which we'll go into the Patreon.
Right.
That's But yeah, the reveal. If they just came out in the yellow. By the way, no man should ever wear a yellow hoodie. No one looks good in a yellow hoodie.
No.
Stop that. But yeah, the reveal. It's like it's that guy who was in the Ascension 6 years ago.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Bad reveal. We have too many bad reveals in wrestling.
Yeah. Yep. No, I feel you. But look, they're doing something. Callahan and Young, I think will end up having a good match when they do
I
get
agree.
to that point.
I can't believe they never had it before. They said that it's the first time a match had ever happened, and I was really surprised to hear that. So that's cool.
Yeah.
That there's still new matches we can find.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so this is a note from Josiah. It said 2 of the minions lifted their hoods, and it was Alan Angels and Big Con. It was Connor in WWE. The crowd lightly booed. And that's pretty accurate, I would say.
Our polite pastor for, saying it the nicest way possible. I like you calling them the minions, by the way. Somebody should be referring to these guys as such on camera. Very soon.
Absolutely. The Sammy Callahan, that seems like right up his alley. That's an insult for him. So
there you go, Sammy. Here's one for free.
Yeah. Jordan Grace walked into her locker room, and Giselle Shaw put up a ton of pictures, kind of reminded me of the Masha Slamovich.
I thought the same thing. I thought, are we doing Masha again? That was literally the first thought that went through my head when she walked in there.
Well, and Grace said something similar. She said, "Oh man, I really got to start locking my door." That's when she walked in there and saw all that. And it was just a bunch of pictures of Giselle Shaw, and then Caleb with a K, or whatever this new guy's name is. I guess this Giselle's publicist or photographer handed her some pictures, and then Grace beat him up. So there you go.
That's fun. I thought she had split her head open. I missed that it was pain. Like I looked up, I was at my phone. I looked up and I saw Jordan walking by, and she had that thing on her head, and I thought someone split her open at first.
Her and Gresham are in Oahu, and they didn't even call me. Well, they don't know who I am, so it makes
The,
sense.
the dicks. Can you believe that?
Moose defeated Ace Austin defeated Moose there, Josiah. Sorry, he had that backwards in his title here, so we'll have to correct him. Get your stuff together, Josiah. But Ace Austin defeated Moose. He was out there with Chris Bay. Bulky Ray showed up eventually and was kind of cheering on Austin. He distracted Moose a little bit. Austin got the big victory there with a roll up. It was a good match till the finish. They're telling a story here. I don't know exactly where they're connecting the dots, but we're definitely getting Moose and Bulky Ray. Sorry, Bulky. That's what we're gonna call him. Moose and Bulky at the upcoming Overdrive show.
I like this match. I didn't like the finish.
Yeah.
I thought the finish is a bit too gaga for me. But again, it's TV. It's fine.
Well, and they're trying to protect Moose while still making Ace Austin look good. I get what they were trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it for today. It's fine. Don't do it a bunch. I fear we're getting Bulky Ray joining the Bullet Club. I
fear that Ace Austin was never hurt in that parking lot, that this whole thing was a big master plan for Bulky Ray to join forces with Chris Bay and Ace Austin and kind of be their mentor. Or Bullet Club. Bullet Club's dead anyway. Who cares? Juice Robinson left. So they need a veteran presence in that group here in the States. I don't see the fit. I don't see him being a good fit for Bullet Club, but is what it is. But yeah, I get the feeling this whole thing's been a big ruse with Austin Bay and Bully.
I'm not a fan. You know who else was an old TNA world champion who was put into Bullet Club and was irrelevant?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that on the Patreon.
And more to come on the Patreon. And another guy who happens to be the executive vice president of Impact was in the Bullet Club. So there you go. Frankie Kazarian. Yeah. He was a whole part of that deal. Frankie Kazarian and Josh Alexander defeated Aussie Open, Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis in a fantastic main event to close the show, says our friend Josiah. There's a lot of hokey stuff on the undercard here, but I thought the main event was fantastic. All four guys work great together. Frankie Kazarian is amazing, and so is Josh Alexander. And these Aussie Open kids are fucking incredible, man. And they're taking L's everywhere. They just recently lost their strong tag titles to the Motor City Machine Guns. But look, we don't get to get these guys here very often, and when they do, they show out. Unfortunately, they got to lose every match they're here, but they definitely do show out. A great main event to end the show.
They lose so much, like everywhere. They lose, they're I was thinking about, they're the greatest job tag team of all time, possibly. I mean, again, they don't work in these places. They're brought into these places, so they have to lose. But at the same time, it's like they lose everywhere. They're not even the top tag team in United Empire. They're the B tag team in United Empire. That should be a story for New Japan at some point, where these guys start to figure out that they don't need, Okan and Jeff. This isn't a New Japan podcast. This match was really great. Just four wrestlers wrestling. It's amazing when you don't have to do the bells and whistles, when you could just go out there and do your job, and how great pro wrestling can be. I really like this.
No real storyline, just Aussie
they coexisted.
And Aussie Open was looking for a challenge. Alexander and Frankie Kazarian accepted. They did the whole They teased a little bit, can they coexist? And they coexisted. They were just fine. They hugged and shook hands afterwards. Tracy Brooks and Jade Chung were in the audience sitting next to each other. I loved everything about this. I thought it was a great way to close the show.
I like them turning on a trope, right? Because that's the old WWE trope. Can they coexist? And the answer is always no, they cannot. This time, they made it work. I like that Frankie's being very professional about this whole thing. It's not personal. He just wants to be the champion.
Yeah. And
didn't have to beat Speedball to get here, but here we are.
But we digress, folks. We digress. Well, hey, guys, that's going to do it for us on the free feed here on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Hey, if you listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, go and leave us a 5-star review and give us a big rating. Give us a big rating there. 5-star review. Put in the comments that Mike and JD are the best show on Fight Game Media. Say that they're definitely better than those fucking Boom guys. Say definitely. Put it in there. Say definitely better than our good friends Kevin and James McDaniel. Oh man, I wanted to hit my line. So they had a great title for a video, Kevin and James, right? So they titled one of their video and they did a whole bit about CM Punk is the Michael Jordan of pettiness, right? And they got a ton of clicks. And I loved that video, and they did a great job with that. Well, after Wednesday, Tony Khan is now the Phil Jackson of pettiness. After what he did with Colt Cabana.
Perhaps the LeBron James, the next
Yeah.
level. Yes.
yeah. We're gonna start calling him Petty Con. But anyway, so that's gonna do it for us on the free feed. Please go leave us a 5-star review. Tell us what you think of the show. And you don't have to bash other shows on the network, but if you do, it'd be funny.
It'd be way funny.
Join us over on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/5kmedia to continue the conversation where we are going to here. Let me look at my notes here. So we're going to kick it off with we're going to talk some Jeff Jarrett. We're going to talk Fight TV Plus, Matt Cardona, Throwback Throwdown, possibly a new knockout coming into the promotion. We'll see. And then we're going to talk about this Bodie kid who was in Chase University who just got released from WWE. So, yep, head over to Patreon. And Patreon, stick around.